everybody. Okay, everybody. I tried to start this yesterday. Okay. I think I'm live, and Danny Riley here from Mr. Top Step and Pitbull Traders. And today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over how to use. I believe that the codes would be the same for all of this, but I use Claude. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go step by step on how to create your own levels, whether it be stocks, whether it be the futures, whether it be metals, whether it be commodities. It all fits. And one of the things I think about is that I actually like to put in my own levels, and I like market profile. That's really one of the things I like to look at. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go step by step on how to do this. So where I get my data from, you can pull data from you can pull it from Yahoo Finance, you can pull it from pull it from wherever you like. I know that there's a lot of data sources, but I use bar charts because one, Mr. Top Step has been a partner with them for a long time, and two, it's just easy to use. So here I've got bar chart up right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this right here for futures. I'm going to hit futures, and I'm going to go down here to indices, or what I can do, you can go down here to indices. You've got all the different, you've got energies, you've got currencies, you've got grains, indices, livestock, metals, softs. But what I can do is I can just go into this bar up at the top right here and just push in ESM 26. Okay. Now that's going to bring me over to a screen that if you look on the left-hand side, you get right in here and you go down and you hit price history. Okay. So I'm going to hit price history. I'm not going to go back a lot on prices, but what I'll do is I'll scroll down, and because the markets are going down, you probably want to go further down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the top of the spreadsheet, and this is showing 3 months. I'm going to go back 6 months. I'm going to scroll down, and hopefully in the 6-month time frame, there will be some lower prices in here. Nope. So I'm going to go back up. I probably should have looked at this a little closer, but anyways, I'm going to go back up to the top, and I'm going to go right here where it says select history, and I'm going to hit 1 year. So now what I'm basically going to do, I'm going to drag 1 year's worth of data, and I'll show you where I'm going to bring it to. Hold on 1 minute. Give me a minute. I want to bring it down into the 6,500 level, because that's basically where I've been talking about, but I'll even bring it down a little further. I'll bring it down into the 63. I'll bring it back to June 27, 2025. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to go to the 26th. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste and stick this data, as you can see, I'm scrolling up. You got to let it catch up a little bit. And hold on. I don't want to let go of my mouse. I want to make sure that I've got all the data. I'm in November. Now going into December of 25. And I got to go into 26 and get all of 26. And get it to current. Now, what I don't want to do is you can use the current day, but really you shouldn't use the current day. Well, you know what? I can, but I'll use the current day just because I want to grab the top bar that gives you the high, open, low, last, the net change. So I will include today, but ideally, you just want to use it up to the day prior to the copy. And what I'm going to do from there, you need to open up, if you use Gmail, that's what I use. I'm going to open up a Google spreadsheet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that data and I'm going to drop it. I'm going to paste it, stick it into the spreadsheet. I don't know why that's not coming up the way it should, but hold on. Well, I assume that all the data is in there, but it should be line per line. So let me go back and let me make sure that I've got all the data in there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the spreadsheet and I'm going to delete that row. And I'm going to go over to a new row just to make sure that I've got the data. And I'm going to paste that. Oh, I'm not sure why it's doing that. The data should be up at the top. Let me make sure I've got this. Delete cell. Give me a minute here. I'm going to delete this cell. Delete column. Okay, let me go back and make sure that I've got all the, I believe I've got it all. It's showing right here that I do. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to paste and stick the data. I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to paste and stick. And again, I don't know why the data is not showing up at the top. It should. But anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my rules and I'm not sure why the spreadsheet's not loading up the way it should. Maybe maybe what I should do is I should go and open up a new spreadsheet just to make sure. I don't think I have to, but that kind of not exactly the way it usually works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my rules right here. And basically what I've done is I've pulled the bar chart data into a blank Google spreadsheet. I copied the data into it in a row format to include the data. Now paste into A1 spreadsheet, right? So when I'm going to go back, I'm going to copy. Where am I at? I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to download, I'm sorry, I'm losing my, only because I didn't get, the spreadsheet didn't completely fall into where it should. I'm going to go to download, and then I'm going to go to CVS. I'm going to make a CVS file. So go down to CVS, hit that. All right. And now it's opened up into my download. Now, what I'm going to do is, you can see at the top of where I'm at now, it's going to go into a download. And apparently you can't see that part, but I'm going to go to downloads and I'm going to save it. And what I'm going to do is then I'm going to drag that over to Claude. So what I'm going to do is I go here in Claude and I add file. I go back to the spreadsheet and I hit that and I open it up in Claude. Okay, so now I've got it in Claude. And again, I'm not sure why the spreadsheet didn't take, but I believe I got most of the data. So now I'm going to go back to my rules, and I've copied it into a CVS file. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to type in, I'm going to copy into Claude, take the CVS file, make it stacked and a vertical format for me to download. So I'm copying this rule right here, copy, and I'm going to go back to Claude and I'm going to ask Claude to make it in a vertical file. Paste. And then I'm going to tell Claude to follow the instructions. So we got to wait a minute. Now I'm going to go back at a certain point and I'll put these rules on Twitter so you've got them, or you can get them on YouTube. But what you'll see is now the spreadsheet is opened up with the data. So I do have all the data. It just didn't line up correctly in the spreadsheet. It should be one after another, but it doesn't really matter because all the data is here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my rules. And what I'm going to do is rule number 6. If you can see that, it says after it's been finished generating, type in awesome. And then basically whatever method that you want to put in, and I'm going to take out the exclude today's date because I included today's date. So again, you're only going to be going off the prior day's levels because the day's not done. So, but I did do that anyways. This is just a good example of how to do it. So what I'm going to do is I've copied that. I'm going to go back into Claude and I am going to put the rule back in. Let's see, you can see how I'm putting it into Claude again. And give me an SR based on data using whatever I want. So, you know, you can basically go in and put in whatever you want using market profile. File. Value areas. Hold on, I gotta correct my bad spelling. 50-day moving average. Bad typing again. 50 and 200 day. And just, you can put in anything you like, you know, any, I'll say the VWAP. And then I'll put that. And now Claude's going to come up with the levels. Now, while it's doing that, what I want to do is I want to go back to bar chart. Now, on bar chart, there's actually an area where you can get a trader's cheat sheet. Let me show you what that is. It's right here. We're back to where I started from. And there's a trader's cheat sheet that you can just take these levels if you like. And you can put in a 14-day RSI. You got pivots, you've got stochastics, you've got Fibonacci's, you've got moving averages, you've got highs and lows, you've got RSI, standard deviation. I should have put in standard deviation. That's generally what I do. And now let's go back to Claude, but I'm just showing you, just a lot of you already know what I'm talking about. You can 1 month high, 2 month high, retracement levels, whatever you like to follow. So right now, Claude is calculating the levels. Now, what I'll do is I'll shut this down. As you can see, it says, now let me calculate all the SR levels from the data built in the interactive chart. All right, so there you go. Here's what I put in. Price, 50-day moving average. Now this is calculated VWAP, value areas, and voila. Now, what I'm going to ask Claude to do is I'm going to ask Claude to provide more levels. Now it's actually grabbing Fibonacci. It's grabbing on its own. It's doing that because it already kind of knows what I'm looking for. So it's just going back to some of the commands I've asked for in the past. It's calculating. Scanning for swing, gaps, building Fibonacci, pivots. Now, let me go back to one other thing while it's calculating. So let's see. Okay, so now here it comes, all right? All right, so it has given me more levels, but it's not fully. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say combine. Building a combined level ladder. I don't know why it's so slow today. I usually do this at night, and it just boom, boom, boom. Now, the other thing, real quick, I mean, we can talk a little bit about these markets right now. I mean, I really think things are just in a state of flux. And I've been pretty adamant about one thing, that what's going on both domestically, economically, geopolitically, it's far from over. And I know that Handle Stats keeps talking about that, at some point this will end and the crude will go back down. I don't think so. Not right now. Then also you've got the combination today of the $7.1 trillion options expiration. Claude is slow today. And then when we finally get to where we want to be with the levels, I'm going to add something in that will enhance the look of the levels themselves, the format of the way I wanted to put them that way into the opening print. But Marlon, my partner Marlon, he said that you can't pull it from here and then put it into. So there you go. All right. Support and resistance. You've got the daily pivots, you've got the clusters, and pretty cool, right? And they're very accurate. I mean, they really are. Now, what I'm going to ask Claude to do is to, maybe you can see that, create a modern visually appealing market analysis dashboard with an interactive chart showing the support and resistance levels. In other words, this is pretty cool the way it's set up right now. I personally would just paste and stick this and use this in the opening print. But to make it really look really cool, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Now, sometimes it will just give me the codes, and I've got to pull the codes back out, and then I've got to ask Claude to redo it again. But it should come up. I'm telling you, it's slow today. I mean, it looks like it's fast, but usually it just boom, boom, boom. Okay, there it is, coming in now. Now, on the right-hand side, what it should do is it should pop up with a chart at the top, um, the levels, very, very cool format, um, in different colors and a lot of calculations here. And this is just simple stuff. Now, I think I paid $20 a month for this, where I paid $200 or 220 a year. And I haven't really used it beyond like doing levels, but I know that Claude can actually, and I've asked it um, to pick out tradable levels. What level is the most important level of the day? And if you put in time frames, like, put in dates and times, I believe that you can create a bot right off of these levels. I don't know enough about that though. That takes a lot more coding, and yeah, like I said, usually this just kind of pops right up. It's never taken this long. Um, but you get the point, right? It's go back, and you can paste and stick these right in. Um, the problem with pasting and sticking these levels, though, they don't tend to show up as well, when you pull them over. So then you have to kind of you can reformat it. You can make it. Here we come. There we go. Yeah. Now we're talking, right? So look, I can't pretend to be the right guy for this job. I'm just happy that I can do this on my own. Um, and obviously, when you pull the data from bar chart, and I want to go back over this real quick, just so everybody gets to know. I use bar chart, and when you go to the main page on bar chart, you can go. You can type in, you can go to futures. There's a, right here, there's a, a bunch of different um, things you can click on. ETFs, there's options, there's stocks, there's ETFs, there's futures, there's currencies. In this case, I'm using futures. You go down into the left-hand side, it shows you all the different groupings, um, and you can choose whatever you want. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm typing in ESM26. When that page opens up over to the left-hand side, I scroll down to historical data or historic price history. That opens up into, like I said, the high, low closes, the net changes, points and percentage, net changes. And if the data that you're looking for doesn't go back far enough, here I can go to gold. Let's go to gold. No, let's go to crude. CLJ, crude oil. So I go to crude oil and boom, there it is. Now, obviously, you would probably want to go, you could pull data back from not that far. You could go back to when crude traded down to, God, it was in the 58s. Got down to 57, got down to, let's see, got down to 55.08 on 12/17. So you could do the same thing for crude oil. Again, you paste and stick. You bring it over to a Google spreadsheet, a vertical spreadsheet, and you paste that data in. Once you get it in, you go to File, you go to Download, you go to comma, separated values, CSV. Once you get the data in there, you have a file already made, and then you go to Claude and you put that CVS data file, you click it in, open up the file and ask the commands that I showed you. But like I said, this can work for stocks. Like we can look at ETFs. Most active, let's see. Popular ETFs. And there's just about everything. It's all here. And the thing is that, you can you can pull out any ETFs you want. And you can go to currencies, you can go to anything you like. Now, at the end of the day, I think this is pretty cool. No one's going to get away from this. AI is here to stay, whether the market's going up or down. And you're going to either embrace it or you're going to sit back and look at it. I don't think there's anything that you can do as far as fighting it. It's here to stay. And that's really all I've got to talk about. I hope everybody's doing well. This is not going to be, we're in troubled waters right now is what I say. And that there's a dark cloud hanging over the stock market. And I've been putting up another thing I can show you real quick. I'm sure you can do this on your other charts, but I'll go back to the ESM chart, right? And bar chart, right? Now, I'm not going to be looking at the data. What I'm going to be looking at is I'm going to go over on the right-hand side and I'm going to hit interactive chart. And this is a chart that I made earlier in the day. And I'm sure you can do this on most charting software platforms, but um, it's the data isn't going to be in your platform. So I'm going to clear this. I'm going to reset, clear. I'm going to clear. And what I've got, well, you know what, better yet, I can include the S&P, but what I'm going to do is this is the ESM. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to hit compare. All right. And then I'm going to, I don't know what that was. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say, um, I'm going to put in CLJ, crude oil. And then I'm going to put in gold, GCJ, April gold. And basically what I'm doing is I'm making a comparison chart. And you, again, this is a basic comparison chart, but you can see, how this all lines up. When you scroll up a little bit, you can go to a daily, you can use a 15-minute chart, you can use a 5-minute chart. Obviously, a little bit further out is a little clearer picture. You can do different time frames, a 10-day time frame. And I got to say, Bar Chart is not paying me for this, but they've been around a long time and they're a reliable product. And if you want to get more data, they have wider, bigger data that you can buy, you can purchase. And just so you can see, if you want this type of chart, you can go over to, let's see, up in the right-hand corner, if you get to, oh, that's not what I wanted, but either way, when you pull the chart up, if you've got the basic backgrounds, and you will have basic backgrounds, let me delete this chart, reset. Clear tools. Well, the thing is that when you're using the basic format, you're going to want to go up into the upper right-hand corner. And where is that now? Well, you know what? There's a little moon-shaped thing that you can click on that will colorize the charts. But anyways, I'm going to leave it like that, you guys. What I'll do is I will put the rules in Twitter right now so that you can mess around with this. We've recorded this on YouTube, so we can also put the YouTube up. And the guys in my room, I think they, let's see, hold on. Did it not? Oh yeah, it's streamed on. Yeah, so there it is. But anyways, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I hope you guys have a good remainder of your day. As they always say, and I've always known, the S&P on these particular days, the quarterly option expirations are always the biggest. And they've grown and grown and grown. They've taken up a much larger space. It used to be, and I still believe that the S&P futures and NASDAQ futures are the tail that wags the dog. But as the options volume has exploded and the size of these expirations have increased tremendously. I mean, I remember being on the floor and have Union Bank of Switzerland on with me, Bank of America, all these different banks, the big hedge funds. It would be one of the busiest days of the month. And a lot of times, if they fell on the first Friday of a month, if these other, when an unemployment number falls, excuse me, on a, and it does happen on a quad witching date, that really created havoc. And again, the desk would just be loaded up with orders, but really they tend to go quiet after the first hour. First hour, big volume prints, but the biggest volume prints come in the last hour, and that's when everything will start to kind of come together late in the day. And the last thing I want to say is that, with all this uncertainty in whether or not the futures sell off late in the day or whatever happens, I just don't think that it's a good idea going home long with all this going on. So, we could have more risk off. We've seen gold fall. And again, I was one of the first people that talked about the rotation out of gold into silver, or rotation out of gold into crude oil. My buddy that came in here a little while ago, we went to he wanted to swap out what he believed was $50,000 or $60,000 worth of coins. We went to Boca. I'm not going to mention the name, but when we went in, the guy was quoting $700 under spot. And he didn't want to do it. And, it's not up to me to tell him what he wanted to do. But, he said, hey, I'm not, I said, well, he said, why do you think this is going on? I said, well, what's going on in the Middle East? People are taking profits on gold and they're getting long crude oil. And that's really, that's the rotation that's been going on, the big one. And the other big one is selling stocks and buying crude oil. It used to be, sell dollars, buy gold. Now the big rotation is really going from the gold market to crude oil. And I don't think that's going to stop. How high crude goes, I don't know. We got up to 119. I don't think it's completely I don't think it's out of the norm that, if the war keeps going on the way it's going on, and there's more attacks on oil infrastructure and refining, that crude could go back up quite much. I know that the Saudis said something about that if the war continues, crude oil could go to $180. I don't know about that. I hope not. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for coming in, and I hope you have a good weekend and risk off. Thank you very much.